This program is called Focus, and today we're focusing on PCWA. Those of you that do not know what that means, it's the Placer County Water Agency. With me, Andy Fecko. He's the general manager. He's been with the company 14 years. He manages 235 employees, and Andy, I might tell you that for what I'm else going to say now, 235 employees sounds way low for what you do. 8 treatment plants, 165 miles of canal and reservoirs, and 5 hydro, actually you have 2 reservoirs, and then 5 hydroelectric generation plants. That's a lot of real estate.
It's a big responsibility, Barry. Placer County Water Agency was formed actually same year as KAHI, 1957, so share that birthday. And we're here to serve the people of Placer County with water. That's why the agency was formed, really, was to advocate for the development of water resources in Placer County to make sure that this county had enough water to develop economically as it grew. And that's what we've done.
Andy, we know that you've been with the company 14 years. We mentioned that. There's more to Andy than that. Tell me about Andy before PCWA.
Yeah, so I'm a graduate of UC Davis. I went to school there. My family's had a long-time footprint in Placer County. My folks own property here. My grandparents own property in Lake Tahoe, and so I've been in and around the county for a long time. And I currently live with my family in the little community of Forest Hill. It's been a really great experience. We've been here a long time, and feel a deep responsibility for the mission here in Placer County.
We're in a serious drought right now, Andy, and
Yep.
It may be one of the worst, but we're definitely in one that's the timing is terrible. But tell me, when we have a drought like this, not our first one, what effect does that have on your company?
We've been really fortunate that the folks that came before me planned for that future, and so what we did when we formed the agency way back in the late 50s and then through the 1960s was we started building resources. And those 2 big reservoirs you mentioned earlier, French Meadows Reservoir and Hellhole Reservoir, which are on the Middle Fork American River and the Rubicon River, respectively, store a lot of water, 342,000 acre feet. And people always say, well, what does that mean to me? Well, an average household here in the county uses about a half an acre foot per year for a whole house. And so if you do the math on that, we have a lot of water in storage for not only the current residents of Placer County, but for future residents of Placer County. And so during drought times like this, we are, as an agency, because of the regulatory environment that we live in the state of California, we're asked to conserve water. And so we ask our residents to conserve water, not necessarily because we don't have enough water to serve them. That's not the case, but because we have to, because we live in the regulatory environment that we live in now. But we've been very fortunate that we have not only our 2 big reservoirs on those rivers, but we have a long-term arrangement with the Pacific Gas and Electric Company, and they serve us water from their reservoirs that are north of Highway 80, up above Alta generally. And we have a whole nother source of supply from the Pacific Gas and Electric Company, who actually was the original water provider for the county of Placer. Many people can't remember back this far, but up until the late 1960s, PG&E was a water provider. Before we were formed as an agency, they had water treatment plants and they served ditch water and canal water to many parts of the county because they had developed a hydroelectric system and they needed to do something with the water after it had gone through the generators, and so they became a water purveyor. They turned over that responsibility to us in the late 1960s because they just didn't want to do it anymore, and so here we are.
Andy, we talked about the storage situation which you have up here, which is a gift basically compared to maybe some of the other areas.
Yep.
But you also mentioned on something that I didn't know about, and that is the underground water situation that's under Sacramento City. Tell me about that, because it sounds like you have a plan on using that, which is Mother Nature's reservoir, if you will, so you don't have to build a dam and you don't have to put pumps in there. Basically, you have a Mother Nature reservoir, which you're not basically using that much yet.
That's right. And so this is a regional effort. So PCWA, we're up here in the foothills. We stretch all the way down to Lincoln, but significant portion of the Sacramento region overlays what's called an aquifer. What's an aquifer? An aquifer can be thought of as a big bowl. underground, and it's filled with pretty coarse materials because our river systems run into the valley and they deposit these rocks down in the valley, and it's hundreds of feet deep. And that aquifer underneath Sacramento holds about twice as much water as Folsom Reservoir, if you can believe that. And so it's a huge untapped resource for this region. And so what we're doing, working with our partners that where the water agencies are down in the valley, is to supply those agencies more surface water in wet years when it's abundant, and then have those people, those folks, rely on groundwater during times of drought, right? It becomes your savings account. And it's free. Now, you got to pump it up out of the ground. Of course, you got to put wells in and stuff, but it doesn't require a very expensive, building a new reservoir on a river or doing any of that kind of stuff, because it's there for you. As you said, Mother Nature's provided it. Let's use it. But it takes regional cooperation. And that's where the 21 water agencies that are in and around the Sacramento region are really very, very focused right now on building out the infrastructure necessary to share water, surface water and groundwater, amongst each other so that we can get through droughts like this with minimal pain to our residents, our farms, our businesses.
Now, I read somewhere, I think yesterday, that you've already started this process now during this drought, that since Folsom Lake is so low and it's below some of the outputs that they use, now you're going to use some of their well water. So you're pumping already in some. So that's a decision you can make?
Yeah, exactly. Working with our partners. So, so here's an example, Barry. PCWA supplies water to the city of Roseville. The city of Roseville overlays part of that aquifer. And in this year, what we've done with Roseville is they've said we can buy 25,000 acre feet from PCWA, but this year we're going to turn on our wells, use a little bit of that savings account that we've built up over the years in that aquifer, and we'll offset that surface water use, and PCWA will keep that water in storage for Roseville for a future year, right? It's a partnership. And so they've turned on their wells, they're blending that water with other surface water supplies, and they're continuing to serve their customers in Roseville. It's a really elaborate but actually quite simple way of sharing water and using those two resources, surface water and groundwater, to meet everyone's needs. And that's a key part of future growth and development. So I said our forefathers built this project, these reservoirs, to make sure that the county had enough water to develop economically. And that's really what we're doing right now, is mapping out that future, that sustainable future for not only our current residents, but we know there are more residents coming to this county. It's a great place to live. People want to live here. There will be more residents in the future. How do we supply them water in a way that's environmentally sustainable, fiscally sustainable, and relies on all of our resources, groundwater and surface water? That's our mission. Basically,
your customers become also a supplier.
Yeah, they become part of our solution, right? And that's water efficiency, but that's also these projects that we're building.
Now, you're not just a water agency. I read your real estate list off when we opened this program. So you're into a lot of businesses. It's not just water. What else?
Principally, we pay a lot of bills, and we are not only a water provider, but when we were formed, we were supposed to be an advocate for water development within all of the county. And so one of the things we do on our stewardship side is help smaller districts serve their customers too. We have a lot of water districts in the county that are very, very small. In fact, we have, I think, almost 150 independent water districts that serve down to the neighborhood level. And so we try to help them. But also, as part of our Middle Fork project, we have hydroelectric operation. And so it's a big, big responsibility to make electricity from hydroelectric energy, a very expensive operation to build and maintain. And we do that every single day, and that helps pay the bills for maintaining those two big reservoirs, which are also very expensive to own and operate. And so, yeah, we are 235 employees, which does sound small. We rely on a lot of outside help. A lot of local businesses here in Placer County, construction companies, hauling companies, gravel companies, all of those satellite businesses we use to help multiply the force of our employment base. And so a lot of our local folks here are contractors that help us.
Andy, thank you. The focus here at KAHI this week has been on PCWA, Placer County Water Agency.